In this video, I'm attempting to survive 100 days on a completely random seed, on hardcore mode. I've never beaten the game like this before, so this is gonna be a real challenge. From gathering the resources and fighting off dangerous mobs, to building epic structures. Every decision could mean the difference between survival and starting over. My ultimate goal? Defeat the Ender Dragon while also pushing myself to become a better builder along the way. So without further ado, let's get started. On day 0, I spawned in the desert, eager to start this challenge. 100 days in a hardcore is no joke, and this time I'm not going to look at the Enderman like I did in my first attempt. I started off this world by collecting sticks, cactus and sugar canes like there was snow tomorrow. Since I'm definitely not playing on the same seed as I did last attempt, I went straight to a nearby village from spawn. Oh, how surprising! The village is still here! I then did what every Minecraft players would do and plundered the village of every valuable items. Even death would be scared of me now, and since I'm a menace to society, I end day 0 by sleeping in this villager's bed. Well, guessing from that sound, I don't think he was very happy about that decision, to be honest. The next day, I stole his bed. But since my small brain couldn't remember I had already stolen a bed the day before, I gave him the ugly one. I know, I'm such a good guy. After I had stolen everything they owned, I left the village feeling happy. On my way to a better place, I picked up every cactus and sugarcane I came across. For your information, I never really used those cactuses in these 100 days, so this was just a big waste of time, to be honest. However, I found 3 sunken ships later on, which gave me some early iron, some cool armor trims, and a useless treasure map.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
I then completely skipped Stone Age and went straight to full iron tools, since I'm just cool like that. But not cool enough to skip sleep, so I placed my bed on a sunken ship, feeling safer than ever. On the morning of day 2, I boated to get some bamboo, which you guessed it, I also never used. I then sailed over the ocean in hope for a better future. Finally something else than just desert and jungle. Since I knew I would need enchanted tools and armor to stay alive in this hardcore world, I started early by collecting hide for bookshelves. Not long after, I also found my second village, but this one was going through it. I did what I could to save the village, but it was already too late. So I did what I do best and stole everything they had. But this time, karma got me. Ouch. Thankfully, they had more beds left, so I took this child's bed, which he wasn't very happy about, and slept through the night. Day 3 started off with some ruined nether portal exploring, which granted me another golden armor piece. Now I was even more blinged out and even creepers would fear me. After some more exploring, I found some cool looking mountains in the distance, which grabbed my attention. So I did what every logical person in this world would do and went straight through them. And to my surprise, the mountains resemble a cereal bowl looking shape with water in the middle. This was going to be our home for the rest of this challenge. I put down the bed, stored my items in the chest, and even made an infinity water source even though I had infinite water 10 blocks behind me. The next thing on the agenda was to fill in this pond with all the sugarcane I farmed at the start of the challenge. And to my surprise, I even had more to spare. I guess paper won't be a problem in this save. I was also lucky to have close to every animal in my bowl, only missing the pigs. So I made 3 chambers and began luring them in before calling it a day. The next day, I finally found the missing animal species, so I built yet another beautiful living hole for them. Even though I already had enough wheat to survive for over 50 days, I decided to start my own little humble farm. It's not much, but it's honest work. I then spent the rest of day 4 digging out my mine entrance before finishing off the day by breeding my animals. Not to mention, I also made myself a shield, iron leggings and boots for protective reasons. Now this has to be a new personal best, because I can't remember last time I waited until day 5 to get my first tree. That's usually the first thing you do in a new Minecraft world. Right after that, I spotted a mangrove biome, which got me pretty stoked. I never found one this early before. That meant I was definitely going to build something with its blocks. I also found this little fella, but there's no way I'm making a frogolite farm in these 100 days. I can barely keep myself alive in this world. I spent the rest of the day exploring the surrounding area before running into these annoying guys. But luckily for me, I put them all to sleep within seconds. On day 6, I could really feel the need for a storage system. But if you know me, you know I'm gonna delay that process. So instead, I made myself a couple of iron pickaxes and started digging out my mine. I tried to make it somewhat natural looking before strip mining down to diamond level. But on my way down, I came across a big cave system, which I just had to explore. It granted me a ton of ores, and before I even knew it, day 7 arrived. I kept mining on day 7, and luckily I was underground instead of stuck in a thunderstorm outside. I went back to my strip mine and dug even deeper.
Diamond! Ah!
We got 5 right away, but I wasn't stopping until I reached Y level -59. And yeah, we found even more diamonds on the way down.
Oh my god! Wow!
Bringing the total to 13. The next day, I made my first diamond pickaxe, and not long after, I found a very interesting pig in my animal pen. Can't really remember learning you in here. I'm guessing I can blame the thunderstorm from the day before, because even my cows were gone. Enough is enough. I dealt with the unwanted guest and set off to bring in a new stock of cows. And let me tell you, I never want to do that again. It takes forever. Before calling it a day though, I quickly farmed enough obsidian for a portal and an enchantment table. I wasn't in a particular rush to get them so early, but since I already had a diamond pickaxe, I figured, why not? The next day, I meant serious business. With 19 levels to my name and only 100 days to survive, I had to do everything in my power to stay alive. Even though I didn't have enough bookshelves or levels for maxed out enchantments, I could still use level 1 enchants. Sure, it only gave me protection 1 on every armor piece, but hey, that's better than nothing. Day 10 was a chill one. I expanded my tiny farm into a small sized farm before gathering resources for my starter house. It took 4 days, but by day 13, I had almost all the raw materials I needed. For some weird reason, I spent day 14 picking up tons of flowers. They're nice for decoration, but honestly, I can't remember the last time I purposely used flowers to decorate my world. Maybe today's the day that changes. One thing I did need for my house though was glass, so I was pretty happy to find a desert nearby. Just as luck was on my side, I stumbled upon a village, aka free food. As I was stealing their hay bales, a camel got in my way, but thankfully, he didn't kick my ass. By day 15, I was done looting the village, but before leaving, I made sure to lock the villagers inside, just in case I decided to use them for a future villager breeder. Priorities, right? While exploring, I also found this. Not far from the village, I stumbled upon a desert temple. Unfortunately, the loot wasn't great. Just 2 golden apples. Oh, and I found yet another village. But this time, I couldn't be bothered to gather more hay bales. Instead, I just borrowed a bed for the night. The next morning, I visited some friendly neighbors. Joe, Joseph, and Christopher. I then collected my present before planting the potatoes myself. The last thing I did that day was to breed my cows and shed my sheep. I think it's safe to say I have a lot of them by now. Day 17, and I crafted the necessary items that I would need for my starter house. Thanks to my effort the prior days, I had every raw materials that I would need in my chests. Then I made 2 iron shovels, as I needed to dig out a big chunk of the mountain to fit my new house in. Yep, still out here on day 18, digging away at this hole, but by the end of the day, I was finally close to finishing. On the morning of day 19, I finally finished up my digging excavating, so I took a small break by collecting my sugar canes and picked up my wheat before tending to my livestock. I then ended the day by digging some more mud. Day 20 was a short one. I moved every building blocks that I would need for my starter house up to the new spot, which surprisingly took the whole day. Thankfully, I had my bed close by, so I could take a quick nap before starting the building process the following day. I placed my first blocks on the start of day 21, and by the end of the day, first floor was close to finished. This building process took multiple days. And by the end of day 24, I had moved everything into my new house. Day 25 started with me admiring my new house before giving my fully grown cows some love. Thankfully, I got just enough leather to complete my new enchantment room. And since I no longer needed sugar canes, I gladly tore down that ugly farm. I know you're jealous. Just when I thought the day couldn't get any better, some shiny blue rocks decided to say hello. And that wasn't all, it just kept pouring in at an incredible rate. I continued mining into day 26, and by the end of the mining trip, I gathered 25 diamonds and finally reached level 30. You can never be too protected, so by day 27, I was fully geared with diamond armor and tools. My first level 30 enchant wasn't too shabby either. Sharpness 4? I'll take that any day of the week. Later that day, I explored a nearby cave, which was mostly filled with coal and mobs. But with this sword in hand, they didn't stand a chance. On day 28, I built a temporary nether portal and went exploring. But literally the second I stepped in, I thought, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing here? Before rushing back to grab my golden helmet. Safety first, right? Before heading out again, I spotted Juan. My nether spawn was pretty awful, and to make matters worse, a ghost started blasting me immediately. With my non-existent aim, I had no choice but to reinforce my portal with cobblestone. Gas-proofing 101. Since my earlier attempt at fighting a gas was straight up embarrassing, I figured I'd redeem myself. And yeah, I got my ass whooped again, so I settled for mining some quartz for XP instead. On day 29, I enchanted some solid boots and a washed pickaxe, before expanding my farm. knowing I need a ton of carrots for a future villager breeder. The next day, I envisioned a big project that would fit perfectly on this mountainside. A build to house both my villager trading hall and a new nether portal. But for now, it was just a distant thought. On day 31, I couldn't wait any longer. I got right to work. I started by terraforming the ground level before heading into the nether to gather 3 more levels, knowing I needed to enchant my spade for the massive digging job ahead. My goal? To clear all the dirt from the mountain sidewalls. And since there was no time to waste, I jumped straight in. I continued digging on day 32, but got interrupted by a zombie spawner hiding behind some dirt. Sadly, it didn't have any worthwhile loot, so I went digging some more before I needed a new trip to the mine for extra levels for a new diamond shovel. Speaking about diamonds, another successful mine trip done, which granted us 23 more diamonds and enough levels for a new diamond shovel. The rest of day 33 went to shaving off the dirt off the mountain. I woke up on day 34 and got straight back to digging, just like before, until my spade finally broke. But this time, instead of mining my way to level 30 for a new enchant, I figured I'd save some time by building an XP farm using the zombie spawner we found earlier. Not only would this help with enchantments, it will also make curing zombie villagers much easier once they had a working villager breeder. If you made it this far into the video, chances are you're enjoying it. Why not subscribe and drop a like? It helps me out a ton, and videos like this takes an insane amount of time to make, especially alongside my studies. I really appreciate your support. By the end of day 34, I had a fully functional XP farm. I spent the next 2 days AFKing at my XP farm, grinding all the way up to level 39. On day 37, I had 4 max enchantments waiting for me. The first one was meh, but the second, third and fourth was pretty nice. It was a short day, but man did I need those upgrades. With a new enchanted shovel to my name, it shouldn't surprise you that I went ham with it on day 38. Once I was done digging, I had scoped out the mountain as well. The right side was too far outwards compared to the left side, so I had to remove some layers before terraforming the bottom of the cliffside. This was a big time-consuming job, so by day 40 I needed a break. I wanted to go to the nether to find a nether fortress, but before doing that I needed a new shield if I wanted to survive until day 100. New shield acquired, let's slay some mobs. And you bet I forgot my golden helmet once again. So on day 41, I headed back in, this time fully prepared. To make sure I never forgot my golden helmet again, I placed a chest beside my nether portal to store it. Then I built a safe path to the nearest fortress. My goal was simple: gather enough blaze rods to craft all the Eyes of Ender I need without making another trip. And since I found some nether warts, I thought, why not take them? They're useful for potions. After locating the blaze spawner, I camped there for a while and spent long into day 42 farming blazes until I had 15 blaze rods. With 15 blaze rods to my name, I thought I had enough. So I headed home. Once I made it back home, I built a small nether wart farm before heading to bed. Relieved that I wouldn't have to return to the nether anytime soon. On the morning of day 43, I set up my potion brewing corner. Maybe I went a bit overboard with it, but hey, at least it functions like a proper brewing station. After that, I worked non-stop on the mountain project. And by halfway through the day 45, it was starting to take shape. Still a long way to go though. To wrap up the day, I upgraded my diamond armor with the coast armor trims I found at the start of the challenge. Felt cute, might go to bed. Not gonna lie, I was a bit skeptical about whether I could still enchant my armor after adding the trim. But thankfully, I could. With a blast protection 4, I had a better chance of surviving if a creeper decided to creep up on me. And hey, an efficiency 4 diamond axe isn't too bad either. What do you guys think of my terraforming? Personally, I'm pretty happy with what I've managed to do. I spent the rest of day 46 bone mealing my glow lichen and crafting a ton of rails, since I need them both for my mountain project and the villager breeder farm. On day 47 to 48, I went out to gather more iron, as I definitely didn't have enough rails to transport 2 villagers from the nearest village. On day 49, I smelted all my iron ores, and oh boy, did I gather a lot. As soon as I smelted enough, I crafted as many rails as I could afford. It was a long process, but we got there in the end. Once I felt I had enough rails, I started laying down the railway, which had to cross multiple lakes. It took the entire day, but by day 50 it was finally complete. Since I had never made a villager breeder before, I had to call in some help from my cousin, as he'd built plenty ones on our server before. He told me to start by trapping the villagers in with blocks and then sending the minecart into them.
Yeah, son.
In a big.
But as you can see, it wasn't that easy.
Oh.
So here I present to you the most annoying villager I ever met, while my cousin is having a blast on my behalf. Mojang, why do you have to make this so hard for us?
Åh, det är painful att se på. Han playar med dig, Sten.
But after dozens of attempts, he was finally blocked in. Since this process took so long, I had to take a nap before catching the second villager, just to make sure the first one didn't end up becoming a zombie. I was not willing to go through the same nightmare once again. The next day, after a lot of stress, I finally had 2 villagers captured. So the hard part was over. Now I just needed to transport them to their new beautiful home using a genius invention, the furnace minecart. Surprisingly, despite playing this game for nearly 13 years, I had never used one of these before. All I had to do was fuel it with coal, and it would push whatever was in front of it. Don't we just love these machines? Once both villagers were safely transferred, I started digging out their new home. But for some bizarre reason, they needed what felt like 100 beds just to start making babies. So I scattered them all over the floor. As long as they were happy to produce offsprings destined for a lifetime of labor, I was happy. If that's even allowed to say. I swear I'm a good citizen. So good, in fact, that I gave them all my carrots. It didn't take long into day 52 before the first kid entered the world. With the villager breeder up and running, I went to enchant the last piece of my armor. 6 levels down, but the enchantments were so worth it. I'm not saying I have the best armor, but come on, it's pretty solid considering I haven't even used anvil yet. The next morning, I was in the mood to get a new friend, so I traveled to a nearby hill where I had seen horses before. There were so many to choose from, and since I had no clue what to look for, I just picked the one with the most health. Thanks to some lucky finds earlier, I already had a saddle and a diamond horse armor ready to go. Let me know down in the comments below what I should be looking for when taming a horse, because honestly, I have no clue what to look for. I was expecting this one to be faster, but I could probably outrun it myself. You remember all the furnaces that I put back up at the village? Yeah, I just went back to collect the remaining loot. On day 54, I built a new chamber for the baby villagers to drop into. From there, I could easily move them to the workstations once everything was set up. And as you can see, it worked flawlessly. On day 55, I began building my wish version of the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. It would be the perfect centerpiece for my mountain and serve as the mighty protector of my cereal bowl. Since I didn't have all the necessary blocks right away, I finished it on day 56. Wow, how protective I feel right now. I then took a quick trip to my farm to harvest and replant my carrots, knowing my villagers would need a fresh supply sooner rather than later. Later that day, I smelted some cobblestone before hitting the hay. The next day, I leveled out the mountaintops to make sure my big project would look great with a more even landscape. It ended up taking the entire day, but by day 58, it was finally done. The rest of day 58 was pretty uneventful, to be honest. I spent most of the time crafting blocks and did some tiny storage organization, as everything was a complete mess. On the morning of day 59, I started constructing the entrance to the mountain. My goal was to create one of those epic dwarven style entrances, but since my building skills aren't quite there yet, I had to settle for something simpler. I didn't have enough blocks to finish it that day, but for a start, I'm pretty pleased with how it's coming along. Then, as the thunder started rolling in again, I went straight to bed. There's no way I'm risking my animals disappearing like last time. On day 60, I used a glow lichen I had bone meal a few days earlier to create some glowing art on the mountain. I felt like it had a Viking/Stone Age vibe, and from a distance, I was sure it would look awesome. This small job, however, took the entire day. Lining up both sides symmetrically was a real pain, but in the end, it looked great. I just need to make some small adjustments on the right side for it to look all symmetrical. With only 39 days left in this challenge, I figured it was about time to start hunting for ender pearls. I already had all the base powder I needed to craft Eyes of Ender, but getting the pearls themselves, yeah, way harder than expected. And that was a problem, because after that, I still had to find the ender portal. A friend gave me a solid tip. Head to the warped forest in the Nether, since that's where endermen spawn like crazy. Sounded great, except for one tiny issue. This heat apparently didn't believe in warped forest. I found everything else. 2 bastions, a crimson forest, and even finally managed to smack a gust with its own fireball. But no blue biome in sight. I traveled thousands of blocks in a straight line, hoping for a glimpse of blue, but nothing. After 2 full days of searching, I thought I had a genius idea. I remembered a ruined nether portal in the overworld, pretty far from home, and figured if I lit it up and went through, I'd end up somewhere completely different in the nether. Big brain move, right? Well, yeah, no. Turns out I completely butchered the nether travel math and ended up a whopping 100 blocks away from my original portal. Absolute waste of time. So accepted my fate and decided to go in the opposite direction. And guess what? On day 65, there it was. Finally, a warped forest. It only took 5 full days without sleep to find it, unfortunately. Armed with my bow and sword, I figured gathering 11 ender pearls would be a quick and easy job. Just trap some enderman, slice him up, and boom, pearls for days. Or so I thought. Turns out these endermans must have signed a union contract against dropping loot, because none of them were giving me pearls. So once again, I had to accept my fate. This was going to take days. But at one point, I took a not so graceful fall. But thanks to the feather falling 4 boots, I only lost 3.5 hearts. Without those boots, I think it's pretty safe to say that this challenge would have ended right here. After 2 full days of grinding, I finally gathered enough pearls to feel somewhat safe, knowing a few Eyes of Ender would probably shatter on my journey to the Ender portal. At least now I wouldn't have to spend another eternity farming these stubborn Endermen. Or so I hoped. On day 68, I set out to find the Ender portal because I didn't want to stress about it in the final days. It led me across the ocean, which was a pain in the butt since I didn't have any wood on me. Luckily, I stumbled across a sunken ship not too far from land that gave me just enough wood for a boat. Plus some extra coast armor trims, even though I'd already fully decked out my gear with that exact trim. When night fell, I decided to dig a hole at the bottom of the ocean, hoping to tunnel straight into the stronghold. Long story short, I wasn't far off, but I kept digging in the wrong direction for a couple of days. I finally found it on day 70. I made the portal room safe by destroying the silverfish spawner, clearing out every drop of lava, and adding all the Eyes of Ender. I kind of regret activating it though, since I wasn't ready to head into the end just yet, and it sort of ruined the moment. When that had sunken in, I made myself a nether portal so I could easily travel back once I was ready. Thankfully, I landed in Nether not too far away from my previous portal, so I just bridged across. The next day, I went back to digging out the trading hole as I wanted to get it done soon. It was a long process, and things didn't get any easier once I accidentally dug into my zombie XP farm. After that little disaster, and a lot more digging, I finally finished. All that was left to do was to craft some blast furnaces and smithing tables for a specific floor design I borrowed from the awesome Minecraft YouTuber Ecolio. On the morning of day 72, I enchanted another bow as I was working towards crafting the god bow before the 100 days were up. I didn't have all the right enchantments yet, but I was one step closer. After that, I swapped out the oak trapdoors for spruce ones since they fit the theme a lot better. Then I started fixing up the floor, which was made of polished basalt, smithing tables and blast furnaces. If you ask me, I'd say the end result turned out pretty great. Next up on the list was connecting the villager breeder to the zombie XP farm. That will make curing zombie villagers way easier for better trades. I managed to dig out the basic structure, but I had to finish it the next day since I still needed to bring a few key items. On day 73, I trapped a zombie in a minecart and laid down rail tracks to transfer villagers up to my new zombie cure station. It didn't quite work at first, but after a few tweaks, I managed to get everything up and running. It's probably not the best method, but it works. So on day 74, however, I finally began curing my first zombie villager. Still have to calibrate my aim a bit though. While I waited for the cure to kick in, I started digging out the tunnel to transfer him to his new home in the trading hall, where he spent eternity trading sticks for emeralds. Once he was fully cured, I sent him straight into hard labor. Took him a while to decide if he wanted the job or not, but by the morning of day 75, he finally accepted his fate. I'll spare you the footage of every single zombie curing process, but just know that I'm out here slowly filling up the trading hall, one cured villager at a time. The rest of day 75 was classic Minecraft grind. I chopped wood like a lumberjack on a mission before turning them into sticks. On the morning of the next day, I was trading sticks for emeralds like an absolute maniac. Since I only had one villager at the time, I managed to scrape together just 22 emeralds to start with. After that, I destroyed the old nether portal and replaced it with an even bigger one right inside the trading hall. That was cringe. By the end of day 76, I tried putting together the god bow, but sadly I was 4 levels short. Day 77 kicked off with a good old carrot harvest. Because, let's be honest, the villagers can't just mass produce babies on an empty stomach. After that, I spent some time leveling out the 2 mountainsides. It was getting there, but still needed more work. I wrapped up the night by digging out a big chunk of the staircase in the mine. Day 78 rolled around, and I was still nowhere near finished with the staircase. But hey, at least I finally had enough levels to combine my 2 bows into the god bow. I also spent a few extra levels repairing my nearly destroyed boots. No way I'm losing those beauties now. After an eventful night of slaying mobs and trading sticks for emeralds, I had gathered enough XP to repair the rest of my armor, as well as my trusty pickaxe. By the end of day 79, I had to take a step back and check how the mountain project was coming along. That's when I noticed a big awkward gap between the nether portal and the mountain entrance. Obviously, I couldn't let that slide, so I decided to rebuild the portal to properly fit the entrance. This is a big project, and I'm not letting small details ruin the vibe. I headed to the nearest lava pool to gather every last block of obsidian that I'd needed. On the morning of day 80, I moved the nether portal to the entrance of the trading hall and made it fit almost perfectly. Once I'm finishing the roof of the mountain entrance, the whole thing will finally feel complete. I spent the rest of the day chopping wood like a madman, because let's be honest, you can never have too many sticks when you're trading for emeralds. I stayed up pretty late, so by the time the next day rolled around, my inventory was packed with stacks of logs. I started converting them into sticks and traded them for emeralds. It didn't take long, and before I even knew it, I had nearly 2 more stacks of emeralds to my name. That meant I could finally start saving up for some really good enchanted books. Since my trading still needed some work, I decided to switch things up and finish decorating the walls. I filled the gaps with polished diorite to clean things up a bit. At one point, I accidentally hit one of my villagers while removing some blocks. Sorry about that one. The whole process ended up taking the rest of the day, and by the time I was done, the sun was already setting. On the morning of day 82, I went straight to work on the roof of the entrance to my trading hall. It's safe to say it was desperately in need of a revisit. I tore the whole thing down and started building a much better design. Now it finally had the shape of a proper temple style entrance. That night I made a few small tweaks to the nether portal so it will fit perfectly with a new temple build. Once I lit it up, everything came together beautifully. The whole building just clicked. But I wasn't done for the day. Tonight we were working overtime. While the moon was out, I started laying down coarse dirt to create the path between my house and the trading hall. On day 83, I was still working hard on my path, adding texture and making sure it was wide enough. But to my surprise, when I walked into my trading hall, I noticed 2 of my villagers had become zombified. I immediately rushed home to grab some potions of weaknesses and golden apples so I could cure them. After that little emergency, I gathered all of my wood and turned it into sticks to trade for even more emeralds. You see, once you start the trading business, there's no going back. I just love the sound of stacking up more emeralds. The rest of the day was all about potion brewing, because you can never be too prepared for the Ender Dragon. Potion of slow falling, potion of fire resistance, potion of strength, and potion of regeneration. You name it, I had them all. You see, I wasn't going to fail this fight. Day 84 started on a dopamine high. Thanks to TikTok, my brain is fried, so naturally, the only logical way was to start the day by trading for emeralds, just to get that rush. After that, I took a moment to admire my creation before setting off on an adventure for some jungle wood. Surprisingly, I had to walk all day just to reach the jungle, By the time I got there, I quickly crafted a bed and called it a night. On the morning of day 85, I was collecting dark oak wood when I spotted the pale gardeners forest. I couldn't resist checking it out. This would be my first time visiting the new biome. Not knowing what to take as a souvenir, I gathered some of the special flowers that can only be found in the pale garden. I ended the day by picking up a few azure bluets, since they make a great decorations. I started day 86 by chopping down some spruce trees, since I somehow still didn't have a spruce sapling, despite playing for 86 days. And we can all agree that spruce logs are the best logs in Minecraft, right? Unfortunately, I hadn't been paying attention to my diamond axe durability, and it broke down just after 3 logs. I can't really say I love chopping wood with my bare hands. Even though I was far from home, I just had to stop by and admire these mountains. Just look at this place. I wish I found this earlier. I ended day 86 with one of the most insane views I've ever seen in Minecraft. On day 87, I headed back home, knowing I still had a lot of work ahead if I wanted to finish every build before the 100-day deadline. The journey was long, but when I came across this cute panda, I just had to stop for a moment. I thought he would enjoy the bamboo that I gave him, but he didn't really bother. On day 88, I was still heading home, but after half a day of traveling, I finally saw my beloved cereal bowl. Since I had reached level 30, I decided it was time to enchant a diamond axe. I was no longer willing to chop wood with my bare hands. I got lucky with efficiency 4, but unfortunately no unbreaking 3. Let's hope it survives the remaining 12 days. Wanting spruce logs for my next build, I spent the rest of day 88 chopping down spruce trees. The next day, I decided to build a barn for my animals, hoping it would keep them safe during thunderstorms. To make transferring them easier, I reduced the number of animals until I just had 2 of each species. Cruel? Yeah. But did it give me enough food to survive the remaining days of the challenge? Also yeah. I then started constructing a path leading to the future barn so my world would feel more connected. This took the rest of the day and the morning of day 90. But at least now I had a path and a large enough area to build on. I then headed to a nearby mangrove forest to collect the remaining wood I needed for the build. When I returned home, I laid all the logs out on the ground, ready to carve them with my axe. Once I was finished, it was time for bed. I began the next day by constructing my new barn, a project that ended up taking 3 full days to complete. I chose the same block palette as my starter house, so both buildings would share the same theme. It didn't look like much at first, but with a little extra love here and there, it really came together. After 3 full days of building, I'm proud to present to you the newest addition to the town. Here, my animals will stay safe, no matter what the weather throws at us. I then spent the next 3 days mob-proofing the cereal bowl. I added railings with lanterns on top, so every road would be safe to walk on, and even carved out a proper pathway leading down to the mine. After 3 full days of non-stop work, the area felt completely transformed. Lit pathways now connected all of my buildings, and I even added an extra wheat farm next to my house and mine to bring the place to life. And after all that hard work, there was only one way to celebrate. I turned sticks into pure dopamine. I traded relentlessly, shoveling sticks after sticks into my villagers' hands, until I walked away with 63 emeralds. And the best part? This was only the beginning. Just imagine how many emeralds I'll be able to farm once every empty workstation is filled. I then spent some time decorating the world with the azure bluets we collected earlier, before harvesting all of my carrots so my villagers could create even more workhorses for me. I ended the day by finishing the roof of my villager trading hall, and finally calling it a day. A very productive one. On the morning of day 97, I was invaded by a group of angry pillagers who were determined to end my challenge 3 days short of 100. But after dealing with them, I headed to my villager breeder as I needed more workhorses for my trading hall. And to my surprise, there were plenty of villagers ready to spend the rest of their lives behind a workstation. Perfect for an emerald hungry man like myself. And luckily for this one, it was his lucky day. I spent the rest of day 97 AFK at my zombie XP farm. Day 98 was all about preparation. I continued filling the remaining workstation slots in my trading hall, searching for the final upgrades I needed before the end. After countless rerolls, one villager finally offered me a Silk Touch book. It was tempting, really tempting actually, but temptations wasn't enough. If I wanted to defeat the Ender Dragon, I needed something better. And then it happened. Sharpness 5. I didn't hesitate. I bought 2 on the spot and sprinted home, ready to upgrade both my sword and my axe. With those enchantments in place, I was more prepared for Ender Dragon fight than ever before. And if you're wondering about food, don't worry, we were stacked. Day 99 came rushing in as I prepared my inventory, filling it with more potions than I could ever possibly need. Every slot, every item, a silent promise. I would not let a single moment of unpreparedness end this journey. This was hardcore after all, and this was a 100-day challenge. Failure was not an option. Before I could face my final test, I ran to the barn, ready to say my quiet goodbyes. They didn't know what was going on. Tomorrow, everything I built, everything I endured over these 99 days, could all vanish in a single brutal fight with the Ender Dragon. I left the barn behind, the weight of the coming battle pressing down on me with every step. I climbed to the very top of my viewpoint. Below me stretched the world I had forged, a testament to nights spent building, exploring, and surviving. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in fairy shades of orange and red, I braced myself. My beloved cereal bowl. You could all be gone by tomorrow. Day 100, the last day of this challenge. And as painful as it is to say, the video of the last day got corrupted. The sound works, but the footage is frozen. I tried everything to fix it, but nothing worked. I think the problem happened when I decided to stream the last day to a friend on Discord. Even though this isn't the ending I was hoping for, I still managed to create a stop motion style montage of me slaying the Ender Dragon. I hope you enjoyed this video, as I had a lot of fun making it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next adventure. And as always, I'll see you all in the next one.